Hey, beautiful creatives. Welcome to Life I Design, the podcast. Thanks for joining me, your host, Nicki Traikos. I'm an artist, letterer, instructor, and creative business owner. I started and built Life I Design from home while raising a family and learning how to juggle it all. This podcast is my way of pulling back the curtain and inviting you to step into my home studio so we can get candid about all things art, business, and life so I can help you create a life that you design. Have you ever stared at a blank page and have felt maybe apprehensive or intimidated to get started making marks on it? Maybe you've cracked open a new journal and instead of just writing, whatever comes to mind, you close it and you save it for something maybe more meaningful or special. Or perhaps you bought a new stretched canvas and it's been sitting on the easel for months because you're unsure of how to approach your next big masterpiece. There's something about looking at a blank page that's intimidating. There's a bit of apprehension and maybe even some commitment issues around getting started. Is it really getting started that's scaring us? Or maybe it's the pressure of what you're working on and the fact that maybe it won't be good enough. Well, I'm here to tell you it's just a blank page. But why do we fear it so much? I'm going to dive into that and some more of my thoughts around approaching a blank page in this podcast episode. So maybe it's a blank page that you're looking to throw some watercolor paint on, or maybe a new journal or a canvas, and you need to release yourself of all of those commitment issues and break the funk of not being able to get started and just let go of the outcome so you can embrace the process of creation and have it be fun and easy, enjoyable and playful. How does that sound? Okay, creative, let's get started with episode 15, where I'll share my advice for how to approach that blank page and make starting easier and more enjoyable. So I'm going to start with a bit of a background story. Years ago, I started teaching in-person workshops, mostly calligraphy and lettering, but I threw in a creative journaling workshop too because personally, I love journaling. I've been doodling and journaling since as early as high school, I guess. I even have a few of my old journals, and they are filled with a variety of doodles, drawings, poems. Yes, I said poems. Imagine teenage Nicki, all moody and jaded, sitting in her room, spilling all emotion onto paper. Maybe don't imagine that. So, putting pen to paper is something I have to do daily. I actually feel disconnected when I don't. I have a journal to make notes on when I'm working. I have a different journal to plan out my year for my business where I talk about marketing and even this podcast and plan that all out. I have a separate journal that's just for freestyling and kind of getting stuff out if I'm working through stuff. I have sketchbooks, which I consider are journals too. I just express what I'm working on differently. I have a planner that's paper, and I plan my day and put appointments in and things like that. So I don't know if you can relate or not, but I have to put pen to paper every day. Okay, let me get back to the workshop for a sec. So I designed a creative journaling workshop where I prompted students to jot down things like places they wanted to visit or things that they loved to try, even words that spoke to them and made them feel something. So I had magazines that we could use and cut up. I had markers and lettering pens to write in like pretty ways and colors to use. I had stickers, pretty paper clips, you name it. I wanted to make that experience as interesting, beautiful, and tactile as possible. And I wanted my students to fill pages with images, words, colors. And essentially, I wanted that journal to help them express their creativity and even inspire them to journal more. But after the workshops, I was often left confused. I wasn't sure how to direct my students because as part of the workshop, I gave them a sketchbook style journal. So cracking open the sketchbook was sweet, no problem at all. But when it came time for them to commit to making a mark on that first page, I'd say 90% of my students in these workshops were apprehensive. I try encouraging them to even write out their name or glue something on the first page. I tried everything. I couldn't understand where that apprehension was coming from. So during the workshop, they'd spend time cutting out images from magazines and chatting. And even with the prompts I gave them and the encouragement that I offered, I couldn't get them to commit. Then I realized two things. First, I realized that most of them were worried about doing it wrong. So they were placing this value on the end result. And second, almost all of them were worried about what they were putting into the journal. And again, having that not be good enough. So rather than wait to make the marks on their first page or second page or 20th page, they just decided that it wasn't happening. So this happens to the best of us. We stare at a blank screen on our computer in the hopes that maybe a great blog post comes to life or an article that we're working on. We buy that new stretched canvas and bring it home all excited in the hopes that artistic creativity will just wash all over us and it'll guide us to make the most beautiful piece ever. Or even we splurge and buy an expensive pad of watercolor paper, but never end up using it because we're intimidated. Or again, that value that we place on that blank page actually makes us freeze. There are a million reasons why we're apprehensive when looking at a blank page. So I'm hoping to lay down a few tips and encouragement to help you get out of that fear and step into the flow of just diving in and starting. Starting to make marks, whether they're wild marks or maybe just grab a color or two, who cares? Because the value isn't in the blank page. The value is in the process, and that experience creates a more valued finished piece. Do you get what I mean? A blank paper or a blank piece of watercolor paper, let's say, is simply a piece of paper. The effort that you put into picking up your brush and making marks is where that value is. That process of artistic expression is the most important thing. So if you can detach from placing great value on that blank page when you sit down to it, you will feel no ways about starting and exploring and practicing and painting and enjoying and creating. Then you'll get to a point where that blank page is now filled with all of your marks and is more valuable and is cherished and is more important than that blank page ever was. See what I mean? So instead of looking at a blank page and being afraid to start, look at it and imagine what it looks like with your favorite colors on it. Then pick up those colors and start making marks. Even if the marks are scribbles or just shapes or brush strokes, I don't care. That's how most of my abstract pieces actually come to life. I pick 3 colors to start with. I'll scribble some empowering words, even if you can't read it. I know that they're there. I'll draw lines across my canvas and just intuitively let my wrist move and see what starts to come to life. Those marks are unique to me and can be marks that you explore and create an entire collection around. Done. Your blank canvas no longer exists once you get started. Okay, so that's a big tip. Release the value that you place on a blank page and just get going. Okay? Next, maybe it's a blank journal that you've picked up and you've absolutely fallen in love with how it looks and how it feels in your hands and the quality of the pages. You maybe are new to journaling and want to start a practice where you approach it daily, but the journal just sits there and never gets to be enjoyed. First of all, I want you to think about why you bought that journal in the first place. I can almost guarantee that you're like me. You love paper. You love the tactile experience of putting pen to paper, the idea even of being able to have that practice, maybe turning the pages and again, how the cover feels in your hands. Can you just imagine it? Well, then, my friend, you need to crack open that journal, grab your favorite writing tool, because I know you have one, and just even write the following. Write your name down, followed by, I am so freaking grateful for this journal, and I love how it feels in my hands, and it makes me so happy to put this pen to paper and write these words. Even if they are simply words that fill me up, or words that I write down that I did today, things that I did today, or lyrics from my favorite song. You see where I'm going with this? I want you to just write, period, done. That's your first journal entry. Date that shit and enjoy the feeling of writing your first few lines on that blank page and enjoy how liberating and freeing that act can simply be. So don't place so much value on starting or what you're putting in that journal. That journal doesn't mean anything until you fill it up with your words. Okay? So this is going to be my last tip, I think, because I feel like you have enough already, but I just want to hone in on one more thing. I want you to release any emotion you have around that blank canvas or that blank page and the pressure of creating something great. Okay. So I feel like I've already said this, but this is just to let it hit home a little bit more. Once you can emotionally release that pressure, you are allowing creativity to flow. You are easing into approaching the canvas or the watercolor paper or blank page, whatever it is that you're staring at. That flow is what will guide your creation, guaranteed. Pressure makes us feel tight and rigid, and that will come through in whatever you're creating. I don't care what medium you're using. When you feel that pressure, it will show through and you'll be frustrated by the end product. You'll be discouraged. You won't love what you've created. So just ease into it. The more you let go, the easier it will get, I promise. And even sit down to a blank page every day, because every day, if you practice getting started and not being intimidated, it will get easier and easier. So do it more often. So I guess that's like 2 tips in one. Okay. I have one last one. When you're looking at a blank page, maybe cut it down. Cut it down, maybe in half or into quarters, and make that blank page smaller, because it will be less significant, I promise. It's something that I actually share in my watercolor class. So that fear of getting started will be less significant if you're looking at a smaller page. Give it a try. It totally works. Trust me, totally works. Um, Next, use 2 colors and just mix them together and see what happens. So that end goal of just seeing what happens really is magic. So imagine a smaller piece of paper with just 2 colors. I don't even care if you're drawing circles and connecting those circles and just seeing where it goes and how your paint's flowing or how your pen's flowing. Just really release the pressure of the outcome, and that will result in much more courage to start and to just continue creating and enjoying that. Okay. So just to recap a few of my tips, because I feel like I added a few extra at the end there. So number 1, remember, it's just a blank page. It's nothing more than that, just a piece of paper. Grab your 3 favorite colors and just start making marks. Okay. Number 3, be consistent and work on a blank page daily if you can, and it will get easier. Next, I want you to release any pressure around the outcome. So just detach from it. And last, this is tip number 5, paint circles. Write your favorite vacation plan or what your favorite vacation was and why. Maybe plan for the future. Draw some leaves, make it light and easy, and build it from there. Okay? So I hope that you enjoyed this quick episode and that it helps you approach your creative practice with a bit more ease. Art and expressing our creativity should be easy, and it should flow, and it should make us feel lighter and happier. So get rid of all that extra stuff and just play. Okay? That's it for this week. Thanks as always for tuning in. Stay connected with me over at lifeidesign.com. Make sure you subscribe for updates because we have some pretty cool stuff in the works. I don't want you to miss out on all of the new things we have going on, but there is a really cool new class that I'm excited about, an ebook that will get you painting some really beautiful florals and plants, all the stuff that I love, and even live painting sessions. They are my favorite to do. So excited for those. Anyway, thank you again for tuning in. Enjoy your day, and may it be filled with lots of messy, happy marks on paper that was once just a blank sheet. Until next time, bye for now.